ここは枢軸国の大勝利に終わった世界線。新たな公用語をドイツ語にしようと画策する第三帝国に対し、ロマンス語の有用性を訴えるラテン帝国のブーチェ・ムッソリーニは、かつてブリタニアと呼ばれていた地域に住む人々、そしてその末裔と下僕たちに呼びかける。なるほどラテン語は仕事言ってもいいかもしれない。しかし英語をよく知っている人にとっては、イタリア語などよほど簡単な言語である、と。本映像は当時語られたという、ブーチェ自らによるイタリア語への勧めである。
Citizens, you are undecided on which language to learn after English, and some of you may prefer the German language due to the relatively similar linguistic system. However, I warn you, do not venture beyond the river Rhine to the east. Surely you will not go around in calling your son, in having something, or in going somewhere, for primitive vocabulary. But when it comes to sophisticated expressions, you will encounter a completely different word. Because this is progress born south of the Alps, a concept that could never have existed in the ancient world, which was nothing but a forest, no matter how developed it may seem now. In this context, I would like you to think who is your true brother. If you consider yourself as civilized, reflect on this. We are humani, while you are humans, you should never be mentioned like them. As proof of this, I will present you with 9 arts to convert Italian into English. By the way, how many characters make up the alphabet? Those who answered without hesitation 26 are perhaps Americans. If you are British, you will be more cautious as Europeans. But if you now decide to learn German, at least 4 new characters will be added to your life. But if it were Italian, you could save 5 characters. 1. This is the test technique. Forge the 5 letters J, K, W, X, Y. For at least 2 letters J and W, we Italians know nothing about them because they were born after the corruption of Roman Empire. In case of other 3 letters, K, X, Y, these are just unnecessary for study unit in the first class. But how is that possible to compose words without these 5 letters? I will answer this question one by one. 2. As for J. This character was born at the end of the Middle Ages, but is it really necessary? The fact that you can rightly judgment las judizio and justice las justizia proves that G is sufficient to represent the sound of J. 3. W does not exist in Italian. This is because it is a word born in the Middle Ages. You might think it would be an author placate with a luvo sound, but surprisingly it becomes ugo. The fact that a word is written where represents a transfer from the Germanic word to the Romance word, while the fact that vino in Italian becomes wine in English indicates that wine was brought into the Germanic word after the pronunciation of v was distinguished from that of u in the Middle Ages. 4. Similarly, is K really essential? The fact that H is sufficient is demonstrated by the fact that your weekend was once written HYNG. To the question of why 2 letters K and H were created, the answer is that those who created them could not distinguish them. Whether the confusion that continued from Roman times was preserved or not, this is where the boundary between chi in English and chiave in Italian is drawn. 5. But replacing X with S. This is a specific change in Italian. Many of the sounds in this word have been ignored, leaving only S. So, words like existence become esistenza, experience become esperienza, experiment become esperimento, sex become sesso, and exam become esame. 6. The elimination of Y rarely used since Roman times seems natural. As indicated by its past called Greek I, words like dynamic and hypothesis become dynamico and hypothesis in Italian. 7. As seen in the last example, hypothesis, you may wonder why the H was eliminated. The reason is simple, we Italians cannot pronounce it. This is because it was an imported letter to pronounce words of Greek origin, and the Romans, ironically, may not have pronounced the names of emperors correctly. So, honor becomes honor in Italian, and the present of lavere becomes no, which is closer to heavy in English. 8. On the other hand, Phoenix becomes Phoenix, since APH becomes F in Italian. Also in English, despite the sounds being the same, there are two ways to write it. The cause words that start with EPH are using the original Greek word. The change from EPH to F occurred when the Roman preference for Greece disappeared, and words were written as they were pronounced, leading to the spelling with F in Italian. 9. As we've seen, words with Latin roots can be easily converted into Italian. However, if a word begins with SH or Y like shout or hear, you have to cheat upon converting it. That is because they originate from Germanic vocabulary. Ecco. These 9 rules will give you the ability to convert most words. You may feel the difference when it comes to primitive vocabulary, as I mentioned at the beginning, but you will not encounter significant difficulties. As for learning a second language, there are less obstacles. Furthermore, this beautiful language makes it easy to approach Latin, the superior language which shares not only vocabulary but also the linguistic system. As a first step to become a cultured man, I encourage you to know the usefulness of Italian. Il tuo coraggio! Il tuo valore!